Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I want to talk about a controversial subject. I want to talk about immigrants and share my opinion on immigration as a whole and the recent immigration wave. Now, I live in the UK, in London, and I was born and grew up in Germany, so I feel like these are the only two places that I can really talk about and give kind of reliable information because I used to live there, I experienced it firsthand. So the interesting part of these two scenarios, London and Germany, is that immigration happens very, very differently. Obviously, London is a city of very diverse mixed cultures due to the colonial history of England. You really have a very, very diverse picture of a city. You live next door basically with any nationality or culture that might be out there. And all that happens fairly harmonically. I mean, I don't want to paint a picture that's not true. London does have a lot of problems. Often it is a big mess. Like, for example, one thing I think that's happening in Germany not so much is you have a lot of gang violence here. So you have literally groups of mostly young kids fighting over territories and selling drugs and doing all the things that gangs do. But to be honest, me as someone who's been living here for 10 years, I never had real contact to any of the... You see kids hanging out in the parks and stuff. But you don't really have anything to do with them. Obviously, those are mostly immigration kids, but not only. England has a big problem with like a whole lost generation of kids who basically, don't go to school, don't care about anything, get high most of the time, sell drugs, and really build a no future generation, like kids who just have no future because there will be no place for them to go when they're older, and they will probably also be in a state of mind where they're not really able to go anywhere and be part of a productive society. So this is a mixture. These are not just immigrant kids, these are also English kids. I just want to highlight that. Anyway, coming back to the main topic, I'm deriving a little bit here. The point is, going to school in Germany, in a school, at least like the first 8 to 10 years I went to school in Germany, was at a school where there were loads of Turkish immigrant kids. And at that time, already, they had a very negative attitude towards us, right? They were like, we were like the German potatoes. They stole our monies because, to be honest, their physique was bigger and better than ours, right? They were big and strong and they cared about training and building muscles already at a young age when we didn't care at all. We were just discovering multiplayer video games and we were like nerds, very white German nerds. And that translated, by the way, into older age as well. You have a whole generation of Turkish, adults in Germany that don't have many German friends. They don't know each other and they don't care very much. And if you talk to them in private and get through to them where they maybe had a few drinks, then they will tell you as well that there's not a lot of respect for the other German citizens, really. Not a lot of respect for Germans in general. So where does it come from? Because here in England, in London, that's not really the case. Yes, everyone lives next to each other, and I don't have many Bangladeshi friends. Some of my friends here are Turkish, actually. It's because I'm living in a quite Turkish area, but some of my friends are German as well. But it's different. There is a less hostile attitude here in London from one culture to another. On one hand, obviously, because it sits much deeper in the center of society. Immigration is the core of the city. Everything is about immigration here. You rarely actually meet English people. You just meet people from all around the world that came to the city. So obviously, it is very different as it is in Germany, where you have a mostly predominantly German culture, German heritage society, right? People put a lot of emphasis on living in a German society. Everything has to follow German rules, and we have our values and core values, and those values we have to not protect, but we want to make sure we sustain those because they are very important. They are part of our identity, and we cannot imagine a scenario where other cultures also play a big role in this country and are part of this country's identity, and our approach to life can still live within that. We can't see that scenario. That's something you get quite often in Germany, right? Where people are very protective over their culture, and even not much happens. Actually, they are very much like, oh, you're threatening my culture. You're threatening my identity as a German. I don't like this. They're very, very fearful about losing their identity. And to be honest, the truth is nobody even knows what that is, and nobody even knows at what point you should be concerned when you lose something like a national identity. It's completely ridiculous. It's a fictitious thing that they make up in their head in Germany, that there's something they need to protect. There's this culture, right, that you need to create. And I'm sure a lot of people, if you're watching this as a German and you have a different opinion on this, you're going to disagree. You're going to be like, no, it's about cleanliness, and it's about being friendly to one another and living in a community, and all this is the German values. And you're going to write me a 5,000 word essay about the values of German culture down in the comment section. But I still stick to my point. I think this is an illusion. I think every culture has its identity and its core values, and depending on how a culture or society shifts, those values shift as well. Those are not values that are constant. Those are values that are always in fluctuation, right? They always change constantly, every day. So that argument is just invalid. It's just ridiculous. The idea to protect your identity and culture is a joke. And beyond that, there is no real threat. If you go to Germany, you walk around, yeah, you see some immigrants here and there. Sorry for the clicking noise. That's me trying to sneakily get a sip of water here. When you walk around Germany, you do see immigrants. You do see them everywhere. But it's not that they, hang out on corners, and again, there might be areas where that's the case, but it's not everywhere. It's not the majority of Germany is like overrun by immigrants that linger on corners and try to sell drugs and beat you up if you look at them. Like, that's just not the case. But the main reason why I wanted to make this video is really this core question. If you walk through London, people live with each other. There is a mutual respect. There's not necessarily a care. I don't care that much about everyone around me, and they don't care about me that much. But there's a mutual respect. We share the city. There's not a lot of room. It's a tight place to live for most people. So let's make the best of it. This kind of attitude, right? Well, in Germany, the attitude is different. It's a more hostile relationship between mostly predominantly Turkish immigrants that have been there for several generations, and Germans. And why is that, right? Why is this relationship so different in Germany? Now, on my opinion, this is just my theory on this, right? I think the main reason actually does not lie with the immigrants. I think the main reason lies with how they are treated in the country. Now, what I mean by that is, if you bring immigrants into your country and you treat them over 2-3 generations as second-class citizens, and all they do is like, they get the cleaning jobs, they clean the streets, they clean your home, they wash your toilet, they do all these second-class jobs that nobody wants to do, and very rarely you get a immigrant citizen who actually makes it, I don't know, to become, let's say, a politician. There are cases like this, but very, very rare. The majority of people have been, this is tinfoil hatty, I know, but have been kind of intentionally kept down by society a little bit. I'm not saying they haven't been given chances to make more of their life, but I think there is just not a big effort in German culture to look at their culture and to see what we as Germans can do to adapt to your culture and how we can find a way to mutually live together, right? To find a coexistence that works for both of us, right? I think that's just something that lacks in Germany. People don't have this kind of empathy to people who are different to other cultures, to immigrants. So I think it is a little bit a problem that the Germans have made themselves, right? And the interesting thing is that it's repeating itself right now, because when you had these first Turkish immigrants coming into Germany, I don't know, that must have been the 60s probably. And then in the 80s, that was probably already the second generation of kids that went to school with me. That was already a massive problem, right? They were just full of hate for all these German kids, and like, they just have absolutely no respect for any German values. But again, the reason why I think they are like this is because they've been treated really bad, and there was never any room for their culture. And now we're doing the same thing again. Now, right-wing parties are on the rise, and everyone's talking about how we have to protect our culture and our identity, like I said before. And it's exactly what happened in the 80s, right? It's exactly what happened in the 70s when people were treated like second-class citizens and were never really allowed to participate in society. And now we're just kind of on a steroid version of that, right? Like everyone, the situation is majorly fucked. Everyone is pissed, and nobody wants to leave Germany, obviously, and everyone's just like, oh, so that creates this really hostile situation. So that's such a wrong way of dealing with immigration, right? Because one thing that Germans like to say, actually, when it comes to people entering their country is, oh yeah, they have to assimilate. They have to adapt to our culture, right? They have to become Germans. I think the right sentence to say here would be, if you want to come to our country, you have to assimilate, you have to become part of German society, but we will do what we can to create a platform for you to also express your culture, because we want your culture to have a home here as well, right? I don't need to go to your mosque, but I want you to have a mosque, right? And I want this to be a respected place that doesn't get vandalized or anything. It's as respected as our Catholic Church, which means a lot to most people. I'm not Catholic, but it's an important place for many Germans. So that church is there, your mosque is there, and it should be treated equally. And again, that's something that Germany does not do. I have 2 mosques from my home, literally in 100 meters walking distance. They are very respected. Nobody would ever think about vandalizing them. It's an area where there's a lot of graffiti going on. There is no graffiti on these mosques, right? People respect them from any culture. There's also no graffiti on churches. So I think that problem that Germany has is a problem they brought upon themselves, if you know what I mean. They have for such a long time watched in fear and refusal what these cultures might bring to Germany, and they don't want it, and there's this constant fear of change, and that creates this tension within other cultures as well, where people are like, dude, what the hell do you want from me, right? I've been living here since 3 generations, and just treat me like a normal human being, and you don't, and you didn't treat my grandparents. So at some point, obviously, you're pissed. You're like, what the fuck do you want from me, bro? Like, don't treat me like this. So again, let me just say there are exceptions, right? It's not everywhere. And you go in Germany, there is this kind of hostile attitude towards immigrants. But it's something I noticed as a kid. It's something that's omnipresent. It's something that's always there, right? If you look for it, you can always find it. There are a lot of people who don't participate in these things, obviously, which is great, but it is always there. So yeah, I just want to get that off my chest. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I think Germany is different in how they treat immigrants and how they approach the idea of immigration compared to London. Again, like I said in the beginning, I'm not saying that London is the praised land and that everything is perfect in the UK. Or it's a funny sentence to say in 2018 with Brexit coming up, but it's just something I think that we need to look at, and especially as Germans, if we have any Germans watching this, people need to look upon themselves first. You need to look at yourself. You need to look at the history and how it came to this point that you now have this hostile relationship with all these immigrants in your country. And I'm saying all, that's obviously wrong, but with so many immigrants. So, yeah. At the moment, the opposite is happening. At the moment, we push all the blame to immigrants, and a lot of people are hostile towards them, and it's just a horrible thing to see how a lot of these people who literally have done nothing get treated in such a rich country, in such a prosperous country. I mean, one thing that I brought up in another debate recently was like, because people keep saying, like I said, they have to assimilate, they have to immigrate into our culture, they have to learn the language, they have to become Germans, Not they have to become Germans, but they have to adapt to our culture. That's the primary goal, that's the main objective. And the main question that everyone asks is like, so, how good is your German now? How is the German? How is it? How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? How is everything around you? How is the living situation? This would be questions. But what I keep saying is like, imagine you as a German, or as wherever you're from, would be forced to immigrate into a Muslim country. There's been a bomb attack, nuclear, the whole European hemisphere is full with radiation. Nobody can live there anymore. Now we are forced to immigrate into an Arabian country, right? Strict Arabian country. Women wear hijabs. There's no smoking, there's no drug use, there's nothing, there's no alcohol. It's a very strict culture. I mean, these guys are very, very strict to themselves. And obviously it's a Muslim believing culture. And now you live there. Would you immigrate? Would you start to put a hijab on your wife? Is that something you can live with? Do you want to do that, or do you want the freedom not to do that? And think about that, because they're also going to say, they're going to be the culture that says, no, if you want to come here, you need to assimilate. You need to be in our culture now, okay? So that's the same thing you are saying to immigrants coming to Germany. You need to assimilate now, yeah? So learn the language, put the hijab on your wife, because that's how we do it, and follow all these rules that we created for our society, because that's how we live, and you need to assimilate. So think about that scenario. You in that scenario, is that something you would want? Or would you be very happy if they would just say, look, guys, you're German, okay? Obviously, you have to follow our laws. That's without a question. But we give you your room. You have your churches. You can express your own culture however you want. We understand this is an awkward situation, everyone being here, but we may all try to make the best of it. And let's see how we can move forward. Again, this is all very hypothetical, because it's unlikely it's going to happen, and I don't know what exactly would happen, but it just helps to put this in perspective, right? You put this in your head, and you kind of think through that scenario, how you would be in this country and how you would be forced to assimilate and how much you would potentially hate that. So I think it is very much about putting everything a little bit more into perspective and thinking about it from different angles, and just really, I don't know, try to find a solution for yourself where you can make a difference, which is not setting immigration camps on fire, right? Like, find a solution that might actually help to resolve the situation for future generations, because this is a very, very long-term process, okay? This is not something where today I talk to this guy and tomorrow he is saved and the best person that works in the German society. It's not how this works. This has to go over mutual respect over generations, okay? We have to treat each other with respect for generations. And only then we can really come to a conclusion and like a place that works for everyone. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Probably you guys are going to have loads of opinions, which you're going to leave down in the comment section below. That's fine. The likes and dislike thing in these kind of videos, I always actually prefer to switch them off, because I don't do it, but I would like to switch them off. Because people don't even listen to the arguments too often, people have no patience to listen to consider arguments that are made in the video. They're just like, well, you're a fucking libtard, mate. You're just a left-wing idiot, yeah? I know how shit works. Fucking immigrants. So you get that kind of thing, and they just hit the dislike button, and you have a ratio of like 5 likes versus 800 dislikes. Well, that's a bit harsh maybe, but you often get on these kind of videos, when you just express your opinion, you get a lot of dislikes. I'll leave the like and dislike button on, so you guys can dislike me into infinity. That's fine. I can live with it. I can handle it. No, but it would be nice to hear some opinions, right? Like just some experiences maybe. Because like I said at the beginning, I went to school with loads of immigrants. We had loads of fights, right? I had to get into fights for my friends and all that. It's not that I have no experience with getting in trouble with immigrants, right? It's not that. Some of my best friends have been immigrants. Like I have quite a broad picture actually of getting in touch with mainly actually in Germany Turkish people, hanging out with them, getting in touch with them, being in fights with them, and just learning their approach to living and how they live in Germany. So it would be interesting to hear your stories, right? Maybe you once got into trouble. Maybe a Turkish German citizen saved you, right? At some point. Maybe your best friend is Turkish and you want to tell me that it's not that bad anymore. I mean, I haven't been living in Germany for 10 years, but I guess the political spectrum reflects what's going on, but would be interesting to hear your guys' stories for sure. So leave your thoughts, leave anything you want to say down in the comment section below. That would be appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the video a little bit. I know it's controversial and you probably hate everything I said, but that's fine. So let me know what you guys think. Otherwise, take care. subscribe, like, do all the good stuff, share the video so we get more opinions in here. I see you guys next time. I'm out.